Hey, before we get started, I just want to give a huge thank you to the YouTube members on our top three tiers. Our World Champ A, Triple Crown Champ Parma Chisel, Grand Slam Champ Freak Maniac 90210, and Raz. Huge thank you guys for that support over on the YouTube side. Cannot wait for you guys to start this show. So here's some Not Cool in High School with some music by the Converse Kid. Let's get it going.
This is a Ben Frank Connection presentation.
What is going on? We are back. ABJP presents Not Cool in High School, episode 128, The Terminator with Sonny Defarge. Very excited for this one. This is our first guest on Not Cool in High School. This movie review will contain spoilers. This movie's old. I'm sorry, but we will put it in there. We're going to try some things out. Like I said, I'm still finding myself when it comes to making this brand and making this content. I'm very, very pumped for it. If you guys are in the chat, make sure you say hi to us. If you are listening to this later in your car, take a screenshot of it, post it on social media and be like, hey, man, I really thought this episode was cool. Maybe this is another movie you should do. Just before we get into anything, just like the Terminator, we will be back because Mr. Defarge himself has agreed that we are going to tackle this entire franchise. Not tonight, but throughout the course of the history of the Not Cool in High School movie reviews. And other ones you can look forward to. Our next ones coming up throughout the month are going to be Not Cool in High School Horror, where Harleen Lopez will join us talking about Saw. This one I'm really pumped for because here's the thing. I like to be challenged. Terminator is a movie I remember watching, but it's not a franchise I really dove into. Sci-fi and horror are not my brands, but now that I'm older and I feel like I can process them better, because as a child, a lot of this went right over my head. And rewatching them as an adult, I think I'm having a more of an appreciation for them. So it's a lot of fun. But here's a review. It's going to be an album review. And if you look, these two burly dudes are going to review 1989 Taylor's version, myself and Robbie Radke. Will ABJ become a Swiftie? Probably is how that answer goes. And then to end our movie reviews at the end of this month will be myself and Kim Rose as we talk about the movie Megan. So that one's going to be a lot of fun. Great content coming up. And we still have interviews to drop. Tornado Tag podcast, a lot of great reviews, tons of 5 questions with ABJ. I am grinding here. If you want to grab your merchandise, you have 2 more days. WrestleMania merchandise for the ABJ podcast is available. And they will be available until the 13th, and then 2 new logos will drop on the 13th, and then you'll have the entire month to grab those. So that's pretty much the housekeeping. Make sure you guys hit the like, share, subscribe. If you're watching on the listening to the audio, there is ways that you can do that as well. But let me bring in my guest without further ado. The legend tag team specialist, solo specialist, professional wrestler, making his, I think this is our first guest who has appeared now on 2 different platforms since the rebrand. Let's bring in Mr. Defarge. What's going on?
Greetings to you and to everybody at home or in the car or wherever you're listening. And thanks for having me. And I think it's super cool that I'm the first person to do 2 different, 2 of your podcasts. I had no idea.
Yeah, this is Harleen would also. So there's a few people who have been on the main podcast, but now kind of crossing over to the other brand. You are the first one to do it, so you'll be back.
Cool. First
cheesy catchphrase there. But so we when I was pitching this idea and I knew I was going to do this, we were talking at Cheeseburger School, and I was like, man, I would really love to have people on, because I know there's a lot of people in the business who aren't very good, or they don't like talking about themselves. They don't like doing the traditional wrestling podcast. And I get that. And I understand why. There's a lot of podcasters out there who don't do a very good job, and it leaves a bad taste in people's mouth. And the last thing they want to do is regurgitate the same interview 100 times. I get all that. So I'm trying to find a creative way to get people exposure, as well as maybe not talking about everything professional wrestling, and we can talk about things we're passionate about. And when you heard that idea, you're like, I need Terminator. Like, I don't like, I'll fight whoever wants it, but it's mine. I get Terminator.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll do all of them in one day if we have to. I'll do one of them at a time. I will be here at 9 o'clock next Thursday also to do Terminator 2 if you want. I'll be here not 9 o'clock tomorrow. I'll be in the car, but you get the deal.
I get it. I get it. Yeah. Very passionate about it. So why is Terminator this movie for you? When you had all the choices of what was out there, first dibs of pretty much any franchise, any movie, you chose Terminator. What makes this movie stand out so much for you?
So for me, and I think I talked about this on the other podcast, but for me, growing up, I was in a very like movie centric family where we watched movies all the time, and it was so normal for us to watch almost a different movie every night. And I thought that was just what people did, to the point that I would make movie references throughout elementary school, throughout middle school, throughout high school that people did not understand. I still do it to this day. It's a thing.
Yeah, if you live in movie quotes, we're going to be friends. Yeah.
Right. So for whatever reason, I guess maybe this just is how it worked in the 90s, but I gravitated towards Arnold Schwarzenegger a lot. He is like one of my heroes. His political beliefs and stuff like that aside, like his journey and what he did and his movies, he's just one of my heroes. And it started out probably not even with Terminator, because movie came out in 1984. Spoiler alert, I wasn't there to see it in 1984. But I had seen Arnold Schwarzenegger movies beforehand, and he was already somebody I was a huge fan of because of things like True Lies and Last Action Hero and stuff like that. And then the family is just like, oh, let's watch these Terminator movies. And it was probably because Terminator 2 was on TV or something.
Yeah, Terminator 2 is the one that I feel like everyone grabs onto.
Right.
Yeah.
And so we watched that, and I said, oh, an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. Sweet. Awesome. And spoiler alert for those that haven't seen all of these or know anything about them, he's the good guy in the second one.
Yes.
And
which I forgot watching this one.
and like the music and the visuals and the everything about it, like I just got sucked into it, and I watched it so many times that I broke the tape. And then I learned that the movie was called Terminator 2 because there was one before it. When you're young, you're kind of dumb.
Yeah.
So then I end up watching the first one, obviously, and I'm like, can't wait to see Arnold Schwarzenegger save the day. I can't wait to see my favorite hero, Arnold Schwarzenegger. And then he comes up and he shows up and he's naked and he's doing his thing, and then he punches Bill Paxton through the chest, and you're like, that's not right. And then the movie turns into this horror movie, and it's completely different, and it flips everything that I knew on its head.
Yeah.
But this is a big, long-winded way of me saying, one, it taught me a lot about how storytelling can be way, way different, just from one movie to another, or even with the same actor playing sort of the same character. And two, it was really just a part of a family thing for me, because that's what we did.
My favorite part about tackling these movies now and doing reviews of music and albums and horror movies is at the end of the day, I'm a very pro wrestling centric channel. So even when we deviate and we drink beers or we smoke or we talk movies, a lot of wrestling terminology. So the whole time watching this movie, I'm like, when is Arnold turn babyface? Like, how do they flip him?
I had to choke it back. I was like, say good guy, say villain, say bad guy, say hero, say these things.
You can lean into it. But
don't want to be too on the nose.
Yeah, we're gonna try some stuff here. So one of the first things, I was on TikTok and I was talking to a bunch of horror creators, and I was like, yo, what do you guys do for your movie reviews if you're gonna do them in a longer form podcast that you would recommend for someone who's probably starting this out? And they were all super helpful. The horror community and movie review community on TikTok is awesome. I love it. Like, everyone hates on TikTok, but if you find your niche of people and the things you're into, you will find good content on there that is just cater to you as a human.
Another person trying to get me to download TikTok.
Yeah, it's awesome. If you're into sci-fi, if you're into movies, horror, wrestling, it's a fun community. But they told me about this website called doesthedogdie.com. Now, the reason why I want to put this website over, weird name, but essentially what this website does is if you're someone who your partner or your kids or anyone you may know who has certain phobias, triggers, things that they not that it would turn them off from the movie, but at least they can mentally prepare themselves for what they're about to see. It is a cool, useful tool to help people out. So this one, the first one, it does the dog die? Yes, 2 dogs are killed, but it is an off-screen kill.
Mhm.
All right, so that's something. Another one they say here, abandonment. If you're having issues with abandonment, you're gonna have a little bit of an issue here. If stalking is a problem for you, this movie might trigger that.
It might.
Does an animal die? Once again, yes. There's going to be a dead rat as well as to 2 guards dogs that you're going to hear. It's only a whimper. They insinuate the death, but it's not like in your face. Once
what about
again,
the lizard?
I don't think the lizard actually dies, does it?
But it definitely gets abandoned.
There is a lizard abandonment. Yes, there is.
Involuntary abandonment, but
yeah, bro, that lizard. We'll get to it. Is someone restrained? Yes, there is restraints. Is someone's mouth covered? Yes. Is there shaving or cutting? Yes, you're gonna see some cut stuff in there. Are there any hands damaged? Yes. Is someone crushed to death? Yes. Is there burning alive? Yes. Is there body horror? Yes. Does someone get squashed? Yes. And breaking bones, unconsciousness, like stuff like that, finger toe mutilations, it's all in there. So if that's something, you could check it out yourself, but check it out. Does the dog die? Is something you should look out for. I didn't go through all of them. I just kind of got some of the key ones, but is it a website you can use that I learned out from those curators. So thank you guys all so much.
And I didn't mean to laugh so hard at the name.
Yeah, some of them are
just the name.
It's tough. Like, so like me watching a movie, I'm just so desensitized that like I see stuff and I'm like, wow, but it just doesn't click to me the same way it does somebody else. And that doesn't make I don't want to diminish someone of saying, well, oh, you're a baby, don't watch the movie. But people still want to consume art. And and yeah. Mm-hmm.
If it's something that's going to upset you, then get the warning. Absolutely. That's why we have trigger warnings now. Like,
absolutely,
not to sound too like oversensitive, whatever. Like, people can get triggered by whatever, and so trigger warnings are necessary.
Yes,
just don't start putting them before the movie, though. In the movie theater, that might be a little weird.
Yeah, because it could spoil things. Fun fact: I just watched the movie for the first time on HBO Max. I was like, yo, I want to go back and watch some Mel Brooks movies, and I put on Blazing Saddles. Before the movie even starts, they do a 45-minute video essentially saying sorry. They're like, we're sorry for what you're about to see. And I was like, I get why, but it's like, if you don't know by now, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But there's a little bit of tongue in cheek to Blazing Saddles. Yeah,
it's
long. It's a long. It feels like it was an hour. I'm like, does this movie start anytime? And you can't skip it. It was rough. But The Terminator is a 1984 American science fiction film co-written, directed by James Cameron, and co-written and produced by Gail Ann Hurd. It stars Arnold Schwarzenegger as the Terminator, a cybernetic assassin sent back in time from 2029 to 1984 to kill Sarah Connor, Linda Hamilton, whose urban son will one day save mankind from extinction by Skynet. The movie was released in October 26, 1984. It runs for 107 minutes. It is a United States film. The budget was $6.4 million and box office made $78.3 million. Now, I'm curious of what that is now later on when it comes to like toys and collectibles, because this is a franchise that has a lot of toys, a lot of collectibles, video games, other spin-off movies, books, comic books. I'm probably missing a whole bunch of stuff. Like, you name it, there's probably
video games, lunchboxes, spin-offs.
Now, being a Terminator fan, did you ever collect the toys or anything like that?
I didn't, and I can't say that it's because I didn't want them. It's just whenever I can't remember ever even seeing anything like that, and it's probably because again, the movie came out in '84, so I wasn't around to see it. Not to give away my age too much. I like that the internet has no idea how old I am. And then
Those
Terminator
old
2 came
Chikara
out in
fans are those old
'91.
Chikara fans are crazy.
They
I
are.
learned how nutty they are through Frightmare, where he said like they put your addresses and stuff on the line at one point in time. Like he had to go and get that taken down. Like
Yeah,
real
they
name,
put
address, shoot job. Like
the entire roster's real names on Wikipedia, and somebody went in and like filed a complaint, and they were like, under Chikara contract, we have to protect our identities, so you have to take this down or you're violating a contract. And it was down that day.
yeah, crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was the person that did it. I went and I said, we can't do that.
yeah.
I
Get
don't
that
want
out
them
of
to. They misspelled my name anyway. They misspelled my real name anyway. And I was insulted. I was like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah, now it
Take
has
it
to come
down.
down.
Take
Take
it
it
down.
down.
I almost wanted to leave it and just be like, well, they're still not going to find me.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't like the first name was misspelled. Like, it's not like I'm Jennifer with 2 N's and they only put it with 1. Like, my whole last name was misspelled. I was like, okay.
Well, if the
And
Terminator ever
not a
came back
little
for
bit.
you, there's a whole phone book worth of people that are gonna die before they even find out who you are.
Oh, you think I'm in the phone book? How do you even get in the phone book? Is that even still a thing?
That's the funniest thing that I'm gonna call back to of what they thought the future was gonna be, because we're only like what 20, 30 years or from when the time of this is gonna happen movie wise to where we are now
You're right.
currently. Yeah.
Right? It was because he came from 2029. No,
Yeah. Yeah, 2029 AD.
2029. So it was 45 years in the past.
Yeah.
They thought 45 years later that he would still have
Like
access
look
to
for a
phone
phone book.
books and all that. I mean, I guess that could just be the genius programming of like, hey, back then they had phone books and you could just look it up. Meanwhile, like 5 years, 10 years after that movie came out, there was GPS. And so
Yeah.
he could have, oh, but there wouldn't have been satellites. Oh,
I mean, I'm sure there was satellites at that time, right?
but they wouldn't have been GPS satellites.
Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
you'd be able to, you'd send out the signal and just be like, crickets, nothing.
Yeah.
So you need the phone book. See, it's smart in its own way.
It finds a way. It finds a way. Yeah. What else do we got here when it comes to this? I think that's pretty much it when it comes to that. We'll get some fun stuff later. I do have some did you know facts and stuff like that we will get into.
Same.
This is another franchise too, where like as I got older, I'm like, oh, it's the Terminator. Like it is T-1000, T-800. Like people get super into this. But in this movie, he's considered something completely different. What we'll get into. So the beginning of the movie kicks off. It's just LA 2029 AD, future dystopia. And one of the things that caught me in this scene, there's a lot of skulls. Like there's just skulls everywhere. Like just filled. The streets are filled with skulls. Not one rib cage, not one arm bone, just skulls everywhere.
Well, you would think, well, obviously the skulls are going to be the top of the piles because that's the top of the body, right?
Yeah.
So nuclear war happens, your skin and your musculature and all that gets vaporized. And then just like in a cartoon, it's all just going to fall straight down, right?
Yeah.
So naturally, the top of all the piles, you just don't see the other stuff.
I just loved all the skulls. It was just like, we need more skulls. Budget. Skulls. Paint them up. But yeah,
get the plaster department on it. Skulls.
The machines have taken over after a nuclear war, is what they tell you in the beginning. And you see humans and these robots kind of fighting each other. It then cuts to 1984. A garbage man is doing his job, and lightning and a portal opens up, and a really large bodybuilder, naked Arnold Schwarzenegger appears in the alley.
Yep.
Imagine telling that story.
Yeah.
Like Arnold Schwarzenegger already a very standout human being. And then he's just in LA.
Even in LA, yeah.
Naked, just appears in a portal. And this guy's like, what is like, I just want to do my job.
You just ignore it. It's LA, guys. You just trash. Trash.
So
Okay.
he walks and we find, I guess, 1984 punk scene. These kids are just up to no good punk kids.
Yeah.
Now, once again, I'm watching this movie in the mind state of Terminator 2, where Schwarzenegger is a good guy.
Yep.
And I'm like, this is not a good guy move. So he essentially goes to fight them. You do some subpoenas here if you pay attention. There's a little bit of
Yep.
swanging Arnold.
You just see a little,
Yeah.
just a little.
So he kills these kids, they stab them, and you realize really quickly that Arnold is something else. He has superpowers of some kind. He has super strength. He's not really being damaged by these guys, and he was able to not only kill them, but he essentially goes inside their chest and pulls a beating heart out. And what you said earlier, Bill Paxton makes a cameo here with some really
he
cool
just
punk
walks up.
tattoos.
He walks up, kills Bill Paxton, Brian Thompson, and the third one. I don't remember who the third one is. Brian Thompson's been a bit player on everything you've ever watched, and Bill Paxton with the unique distinction of being the only person, I would argue, who's been killed by an alien, a predator, and a Terminator.
Holy shit, that is a trifecta. Bill Paxton did it.
Yep. People say Lance Henriksen, which Lance Henriksen did not get killed by a predator. In Alien versus Predator, he died of cardiac arrest before the predator did anything. And in Aliens, he's a cyborg. So he wasn't alive to begin with, and he's still kicking in Alien 3. So obviously didn't happen.
Yeah. Bill Paxton.
Not to get too sidetracked.
That is a great did you know? So when you guys go and you ever play trivia somewhere and they say, name the actor killed by these three creatures, now you know. And it's all because of Mr. Defarge, and you're welcome.
Like I said, people will say Lance Henriksen. So if you say that, that's probably the answer that's on the card.
Fight them.
And they're wrong.
Yes.
They are wrong.
And that's exactly, and we gave you the tools to prove them wrong. So yes, and then kind of cuts to another scene here. Another time traveler is popping through a portal. Once again, all naked as well. The whole time I was like,
naturally,
was there a reason for the nakedness? But they actually do. They actually do. He shows up in an alley, walks up, just steals a homeless guy's pants. They don't really show him taking the pants off of the homeless guy. They kind of cut and he's pulling them up. That would have been a funny scene. Give me your pants.
Right. I mean, the cops chase him. It was obviously late at night. He was probably just tired. He probably just had to shimmy him off of him.
Yeah.
You know,
that's a choice.
You stole my pants.
You take a homeless man's pants. That's a bold move. It's a real bold move. It might almost be better than pantsless. Yeah.
First pair of pants you see. It's not like he was in a store 5 minutes later.
Yeah, where he changed his pants anyway, and now this poor homeless guy has no pants.
He could have. That should be a deleted scene. He went back into the alley. He was like,
"Yeah, here's your pants back.
Here's your pants and a
I love to piss in them. Here's your piss pants." So yes, he does run, goes into a store, puts on different clothing, and a lot of product placement in this movie because he steps down from the changing booth and this dude's rocking some Nikes. Yes, and I kind of researched them. These Nikes are a big deal. Like they're called the Nike Terminators, but at the time they were called the Nike Vandals. They're kind of like the Nike Air Ones, I think. They're like a spoof of them, but the actual shoe from my research is the Nike Vandals. And they retail about $1,500 if you want them a pair of those right now. It is essentially it's essentially a high top Air Force One. They're cool looking shoes. I would wear them. But yes, and not only you'll see the movie in the movie once, but they make sure to show them later on once again.
Yes.
Now it cuts. Yeah, go ahead.
When you're jumping through this, you do the did you know that's at the same time as you're jumping through stuff, or do you jump back later?
We'll go back and do the did you know that's later. But if you have them,
I'm gonna
insert
stop
them.
Oh, well, I was just going to do the did you know that about when the dude comes back in the alley, whose name we eventually learn. But did you know there were supposed to be two guys? Like in the original script, two guys were going to come back in time into that alley.
Really?
Is that one of your did you knows that you got written down? I was
actually going to do the did you knows like on the fly at the end, but if you have them, please tell them.
Oh, so, but I don't want to steal your thunder from ones you've got.
No, this is why you're the guest. This is your movie because you know it more than I do.
So there was originally, and I might be remembering some little details incorrectly. There was originally supposed to be two humans sent back. Spoilers. There was originally supposed to be two guys sent back into that alley, and it was supposed to sort of illustrate how like unstable the time displacement technology was. And the second guy was supposed to appear like partially inside of like a fire escape. Like the fire escape ladder was supposed to be like through his body, and it was just going to be like, oh, I'm here and I'm dead.
Now you're on your own.
Yep, I think it was just supposed to be like a here's the chaos of the sort of stuff that they had to go through to get here. This was their only shot, was these two guys. Oh, now their only shot's this one guy because they goofed. But yeah, just a fun little fact of there was supposed to be a second guy, and I think they just
imagine the forensic scientist in 1984 wondering how a naked man ended up embedded in a fire escape, and you're like,
right, especially if it's the ladder, because you're just going to see the two holes where the ladder is, where the body is. You're not going to see where the rungs go. So it's like, so they took the rungs off, stabbed him, and then put the rungs back.
Yeah.
But I think they still accomplished, right? But I think they still accomplished the chaos of the machinery that they were using, because he did appear like 15, 20, 30 feet in the air and fall. Like they got like maybe in the future, that's a pile of skulls.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, we know that elevation is here from our topographical map of skulls. And then they were like, oh, there's no skulls there in 84. Our bad.
Yeah, and skulls.
So there he goes.
Landing. Yeah, it's like a. So this movie does. When I'm watching it, I'm like, all right, it's definitely 80s, 90s movie here. You know what I mean? There's a lot of cuts, and I'm thinking to myself, like, are they going to be able to tell this story? Like, is this going to be a movie that you look back on? You're like, we look back on it because it just aged. It didn't age well. Like, they didn't do a good job finishing a story. The CGI is not the greatest. And as it was kind of cutting, like, insert guy here. Now Sarah Connor, insert. And I was like, it's very jumpy. But I will say, as the movie goes on, the pacing's pretty decent. It's a good paced movie. So yes, it's going to cut to Sarah Connor, who is working in the rudest restaurant and most dysfunctional restaurant of all time. These customers don't give a fuck about her well-being as a human. Like, she's literally trying to give food, and someone's like, ma'am, I'm ready to order. And you're like, who speaks to humans like that? Like, we've come a long way.
People, anybody watching this in your 50s or 60s or 70s,
you sucked.
Was it like that in 1984? Would people do that?
Yeah, that's so
because they don't
rude.
Now.
Yeah,
I've been to a diner in New York City, and it's not like that.
No.
I mean, New Jersey?
Was that the trope of the 80s? You just degrade restaurant workers. Yeah. Horrible.
And then the child putting, what is it, mashed potatoes or ice cream in her pocket?
Yeah. Crazy. Just like so disrespectful. Like, even kids are like, we can degrade them, right? They're just restaurant workers. Like,
you have an apron on, you are subhuman.
Yeah. That's literally have some mashed potatoes.
Here's my theory. Headcanon. That kid felt bad for her, so he wanted to give her a little snack.
You know what? Maybe he was ahead of the curve. So now Arnold, it cuts back to Arnold. He's stealing cars. He's stealing guns, goes into a gun shop, and he's asking for lasers, and but he knew every other gun, blows the guy away, takes pretty much whatever he wants.
That's a plot hole to me, by the way. Asking for the phase plasma rifle and a 40-watt range in 1984, he's gonna know that they don't have that.
He has to, right?
Like, I get that they had to get it in there that, like, ooh, he's from the future. Yeah. Because you don't know yet at this point.
Yeah.
So you just hear gibberish, and if you're not a gun person, you're going to hear gibberish through the whole scene anyway.
Yeah, pretty much. That was me. Yeah.
But thanks, video games. The scene where he steals the car, because he's in the punk biker get up. He punches out the window of the station wagon. He jumps in, does that. That was the last scene filmed. Again, I don't know if this is one of your tidbits.
No,
but that was the last scene filmed, and it was just James Cameron and Arnold Schwarzenegger present, and they did not have a permit because they did all this guerrilla filmmaking without permits and all this stuff back then. That's why the budget was only $6 million. They did all this guerrilla filmmaking, all these like meet up in secret at 3 a.m. at the location, film, everybody get back in the car, drive away, like sort of situation.
That's awesome.
And that was the last scene filmed. And they were so worried about getting caught right at the very end that while he's punching out the window of the car and he's getting in and he's doing his thing, Arnold Schwarzenegger's actual clothes, like his personal clothes, were just in a neat little pile behind the car. So that as soon as they were done filming, he went around the car, changed, and they left.
Interesting.
It was just James Cameron. He had to film it himself. It was so.
You know what I
the very
noticed
last
too?
thing they did.
The three punkers' clothing didn't match up to what Arnold was then wearing later. Like I don't
Not
think
quite.
any of those three guys would have fit in Arnold. Like Arnold wouldn't have fit into their clothes.
Brian Thompson was a big guy.
Yeah.
Brian Thompson was a big guy, and he almost has the exact same face as Arnold while also looking completely different. But I think he was the blonde punk.
Yeah.
I might be. I haven't watched the first one in a little while, but he was a bit. I would believe he could wear his like jacket.
Yeah.
I don't know that I believe he would have any of their shirts on
or
any of their pants.
Yeah, the pants. Yeah,
You know?
that'd be wild.
I have a hard time believing he fit into any of their gloves
Very true too.
or
Big
shoes.
man.
Oh my god! Maybe he's got little feet.
Yeah, the whole time he's like, came back from the future and I can't find socks. You know what I mean? Yeah.
That's
so
a movie I want to watch.
Goes to I wanted to see everything that Arnold did to set up, because there's other things that he sets up later on in the movie. You're like, why is he there? And you're like, how did he get that? So we'll get to that in a moment. But he goes to the phone book, just throws the guy away from the phone book pages, goes through, and he starts going through all the Sarah Connors and goes to the first Sarah Connor's house. This is all jumping around, so you're suspend disbelief that time has passed. Goes to the first Sarah Connor, goes, "Are you Sarah Connor?" She's like, "Yeah." Kicks on the door, shoots her in the back, and now we're on to the next scene. But yeah, so now we're into another future scene. It's showing the man versus machine fight going on. There's a lot of rebel, more skulls, way more skulls. This guy and this girl are fighting and they're running through, and there's like underground machine gun sets up and people are hiding inside rubble and little bases are going and they're running towards something. He's trying to get to somewhere. This poor
That's
lady,
5 years from now.
yeah, that might happen. It could be very soon. He throws a pipe bomb, like an energy bomb, we'll say. And for some reason she feels she has to throw one too. But if she would have just waited like 3 more seconds, she throws a bomb and gets vaporized. And the guy's kind of like, then the bomb goes off and it destroys the entire robot. And the guy's like, well, she's gone. And he just kind of runs away. And then it flashes back to modern day. And there's a weird, so now we're at Sarah and her friend or roommate Ginger, and they're at their house. They're getting ready. They're getting dressed up to go out. I guess they're doing like a double date or something's going on, or she's going to hang out with her guy and Sarah's going to go out on a date with this other guy. She answers the phone and it's some just random dude dirty talking. It's pretty strange. And she mistakes like, oh, okay, let me put, like, she listens to way more than she probably should have before she corrects him. And then goes, yeah,
wouldn't you though? Like you have just from the looks of him, I can only assume it's Peyton Manning's dad on the phone talking, and you're just gonna be like, I'm gonna mess with my roommate's boyfriend real quick.
There's a weird dynamic to this friendship with these three. We'll that I want to kind of dive into.
They're
so
just
she goes,
comfortable.
very, very comfortable. She goes to give her the phone, and she's, for some reason, she just lives in these Walkman. These goddamn Walkman. It is like how, like, the equivalent of the 80s of us now with our phones. Like, these kids and their Walkmans, like, they're just in their earbuds the whole time. The world is oblivious around them.
My kids don't listen to me.
Yeah, she gives her the phone, and then he just immediately like, hello, and just dives right back into his monologue of dirty talk.
He rehearsed. He rehearsed. He rehearsed, or he's got it written on the wall in front of him.
Yeah.
He knows exactly what's up.
He's like, I'm gonna unbutton your blouse. Like, he goes right unfazed right. That the other roommate just caught him, and as soon as he hears the real voice, he's back into dirty talk. He's killing it. He's cuts now to a cop station. And they're kind of talking about these 2 dead Sarah Connors, and they're like, get on the phone, start calling Sarah Connors in the order. They're good police work in the 80s here at this point. They realize that 2 Sarah Connors are dead. They realize right away that it's in order of the phone book. They don't know exactly why. They have the gun figured out. They realize that the gun killed the guy who has killed the ammo store is connected to these 2. They have put some pieces together,
They know what's up.
very early. Great police work in LA in the 84. Yeah. So as this is happening, the phone keeps ringing, but they're not paying attention to it. The other calls are coming in. You know, the 80s, you only have one call at a time, so they can't get a hold because dirty talking Chad over here is just going to town on the phone. Sarah gets stood up by her date, so now she's gonna get ready and go out and do things on her own because it's a Friday night, and why she let it go to waste?
And the date on the answering machine, that's James Cameron himself.
Was it really?
Yep, and it's funny because he's ditching Sarah Connor, or actress Linda Hamilton, who he would later marry.
Really?
Yeah.
So James Cameron could have casted himself to be the father of John Connor, the hero later on in the future.
Yeah, he could have, because he was there directing his future ex-wife. So
yeah. She has a pet iguana for some reason that's pertinent to the scene. And this iguana, if she gets her face, I've owned an iguana. They bite, and when they bite, it doesn't feel amazing. And she's just insisting on kissing this thing, and its mouth open wants to fuck her up. Yeah.
I would kiss that thing right on the face every day. Every day.
This thing.
What's the iguana's name?
I don't remember.
Oh, the iguana's got a name. It's got a name. I know it does.
Someone Google it, put it in the chat.
I can't see the chat, but you keep watching the chat.
So she then leaves, gets on her motorbike or whatever she was driving. I forget at the time.
It's like a little moped.
Yeah. And the futuristic human dude sees her in his car, and now he's in pursuit. So now we have one futuristic guy following Sarah, while other futuristic Arnold, I just called him Arnold the whole time because I didn't like, he's Arnold Schwarzenegger, right? Like, he didn't have a character name. We didn't call him the Terminator.
He has a character. He's the Terminator.
Yeah. At this point in time, we don't know what the Terminator is yet. We're putting it all together, unless the movie.
And at this point in time, for those watching it the first time, you don't know they're from the future yet. You don't know what these visions are that you're seeing. You don't know that one's a machine. I have to remind myself that all the time. Which is why this is also one of my favorite franchises to like introduce people to, because you sit and you're like, oh, you've never seen any of them. And you're like, no. It's like, do you know the premise? And they're like, yeah, kind of. And it's like, come here.
It's one of those things you have to know the premise, because even if I'm not a giant sci-fi person, I'm not a giant like any of that style of movie, but even movies I've never watched, just because I'm very embodied in pop culture references, this movie bleeds into so much pop culture and other aspects that it's something you have to know the premise of. Like, Sarah, John, Terminator, T-1000, you know what I mean? Like, those are the key points. Some quotes from this movie, which they try to sneak a bunch in, and they get a few of them to land, but not all of them. There's one at the end that I feel like they were like, out of all the quotes in this movie, this is gonna be it. And it just falls flat. No one ever uses it. We'll get to that in a moment.
If it's the one I think it is, I use it day to day. But
yeah, I feel like only diehards use that quote, but it's not one that was universally used very often.
No.
So back to the cop station. There's a lot of bouncing around. Another Sarah has been found dead. And they're trying to call Sarah Connor again, and they kind of go to a voicemail. This scene confused me because I was like half in, half out. And the way I was watching this movie on Freevee TV, you have to watch with commercials. It shows that the door's left open. Like, Sarah left the front door open, because then it shows a voicemail, and then it cuts to Ginger and Greg having sex while she still is wearing earbuds the whole time. Like, she's like, all right, I'll have sex, but I'm not turning off my music.
These kids in their damn Walkman. And he like turns the volume up during.
Yeah. He's like, cool. And he just, because he's probably dirty talking, and she's over it at this point. And that maybe that's his way of, finishing the deed. And for her, she's over it, but she really likes this new album. So it's a compromise. They're meeting as a couple there. Forgot to pull this up. He like really lovingly embraces Sarah and gives her like a really, not like a friendly kiss goodbye when they meet leaving the apartment as well.
I don't know how the 80s were. I don't know what the 80s were like. Maybe that's just, I mean, it's the 80s and it's LA.
Maybe there's a little polyamory. I'm not judging. There's no judgment. It was nice to see.
Not judging
really
at all. It's just
very close friends.
People aren't like that no more. Yeah. And that's fine because, you know, COVID and everything, but people aren't like that anymore. In pro wrestling, we hug each other all the time.
Oh yeah. You know what?
But that was not a regular old, like what even is a friend kiss? Because he and she did not seem to necessarily even want it. But she didn't. It was she more didn't fight it, and it was laughing and
yeah. It was like a move your hair back, almost cheek neckish. Like he went.
Yeah.
There was a lot there. That needs to be dissected. But going back to the wrestling thing, as someone who you know is either on production or commentary or just a fan of wrestling, when you go out there and you put a performance on, and you guys, especially someone like you, like where you leave an emotion and you bring a character, and it's more than just watching two competitors in their wrestle. You're embodying a story. You're leaving something there. And for me, as someone who consumes it, like after a match, like you want to be like, yo, like you just like not just performed, but like or wrestled, you performed, you left art in there. And like an embrace after a match I don't think there's anything better than it. It's better than just saying you had a great match. If you're getting hugs, that's a big deal. My problem I always forget is you guys just performed and you're drenched, and then I go in for that hug and I'm like, why did I do that?
the number of people that I have hugged after a match who either were in street clothes or just a shirt or a jacket or whatever of any kind, while just going, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry, is probably hundreds of people.
Yeah, you don't realize you made
just like, I'm sorry, I'm so sweaty.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, I'm so sweaty.
But it's in the moment. It has to happen. That hug has to happen because you did something so damn cool. It's just like, and then it happens. You're like, oh no.
And I'm here to tell you, I am a hug receiver. I am not a hug giver.
Yeah.
So like, if you come at me with that energy, you're getting it back.
Yes.
And you wanted it. So if you come at me and you're like, we're going to hug, I'm like, cool, I'm really, really sweaty. Just so you know, boom, change your shirt. Go shower.
Who's someone on the wrestling scene? Weird segue, but I'm into this question. Who's your favorite hugger? Like when someone embraces you see them first time at a show in a while, or just someone you look forward to, and you get that hug. They're like, man, I look forward to their hugs.
Let's see. There's definitely something to say about Weber Hatfield hugs.
Weber's a good hugger.
For sure.
Great
for
hugger.
Sure. And you'd think, God, I'm so sorry if he sees this. You wouldn't think you'd get that good of a hug from that like small of a package.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you could tell he means
from a
it.
Little man. Yeah.
You could tell he means it.
Yeah.
You know, his hug is taller than he is. That's what it is.
Very much so.
He's short for his height, you see.
Yeah.
That's the thing. But he's legitimately, he popped into my head immediately.
Yeah, same.
When you asked, and I was like, "Is there like who else?"
JS Hawthorne. I don't know if you ever got a JS Hawthorne hug. That's a good hug. Not a great hug after a match. Very hairy man. Not a pleasant hug post match, but just overall in general, very good hugger. You know who I seen for the first time in a while? Big Calyx. Big Calyx
popped into my head too. Good. That's a good hugger there.
Yeah.
You know what? I'll throw one curveball at you.
All right.
And like, I hope he watches this. If you put clips online for these, use this one and tag him. Otis Koger, great hugger, that fella. I could beat the crap out of him any day of the week and twice on Sunday, but I'd also hug him.
All right. Not weird Terminator hugs, Sarah, Greg hugs, but maybe.
I'll kiss his neck. I don't care. Give him
a little smooch.
Hey, man, his brother.
We're back to the cop station. Once again, what do we got here? Kikoa, great hugger. I could believe that as well. So they're having sex, headphones on, the doors ajar.
Not at the police station. Not at the police station, folks.
Greg and Ginger. this because I thought when the door was left agape and they're like, another Sarah has been killed, I thought that they thought Sarah was Ginger deal. So that's where my brain went when I first watched it this time watching through. And then we'll get to a scene where I'm like, oh, that doesn't make any sense. Sarah gets to the restaurant and then she hears on the news that a third Sarah now has been killed. And she goes to, and I thought in my brain, she's like, oh no, because they said the address and everything. They were really detailed about every detail of the Sarah Connor. So in my brain, I thought it was her address, and maybe now her friend just was mistaken as her, and she freaks out. But then she calls her house, and you realize then that now Arnold is there because he's killed that Sarah, and now he's onto her house. He beats up Greg, kills Ginger. And then as he's killing Ginger, he's thinking to himself, here's a quick question. If he were to kill Sarah, how would he know he got the right one?
I think it was just he's a machine. So he's working systematically. We know her name and we know what city she lives in. That's it. Kyle Reese says that. That's all they have. Name, city. That's it. So he was just systematically going through all of them. If he had offed Ginger right there, and if Sarah had just been a little more flippant, the movie's over.
Yeah.
The movie's over.
Because he thinks he just killed that Sarah on the list.
Because he thinks he just killed potentially the last Sarah on the list. I don't remember how many names there were in the phone book, but he just potentially killed, or at least he's not going to go back to that apartment. Of course, he could be watching the news later and find out, like, crap.
Yep. Now I have to follow this other lead down. So she calls,
I gotta go be a carpet salesman now.
she calls her apartment and leaves a voicemail saying exactly her location, which is kind of smart because as a friend, she's saying, hey, here's where I am. I'm safe. Yeah. This is crazy stuff happening. I hope you're good. Yeah. If you are, get out of the house because this guy is going to different places.
Right. And now where was she?
At a club.
What's the club called?
I don't remember.
It's called Tech Noir.
Yeah, yes.
James Cameron had that club built to film this movie there, and he had to turn people away who thought it was a real club.
It's a cool looking club.
Yeah, it still exists today. You can go there now. It's a jewelry store, though.
Really?
Yeah. I've never been there. I don't.
Yeah.
So,
honestly,
but it's apparently a jewelry store.
The beginning of the club is kind of like a movie theater. Like the girl sits out front in a little ticket booth, and then you go in.
Yeah, but it's like a cage.
Yeah. It was
Start doing that at wrestling shows, people. Somebody.
Yeah, build a cage.
Start doing that at shows. Build a little cage where you're doing the tickets.
Love it. Love it. The environment of that club was cool. I like the environment. You kind of go in and it's just like open bar, dancing. Everyone's having a good time. Everyone's doing the like the Breakfast Club, how Claire dances. It's like the running in place dance. It's a big, it was the move. That was the move.
That was the thing. Yeah. And a second thing about that scene, do you remember the opening of the answering machine outgoing message in Ginger's voice?
Doesn't she she jokes or something? She has like a little bit.
Yeah, she says hello and then pauses and then she says, "Gotcha, you're talking to a machine." Which at the time Sarah was, because the only one that was there to listen was Arnold.
Yes, good.
Or the Terminator.
The Terminator. I didn't put that connection together. That's good. Did you ever make a voicemail like that? Like a joke one? I did. No, my mom did not like it at all. So I had one. It was like me and my buddies, and I made the voicemail like we're in a loud room, and I'm like, "What? Hold on. Who is it? Who?" I'm like, "God, shut up. Who is it? Who?" And my mom has sometimes no sense of humor. I just remember getting the first voicemail when I made that, thinking it was the funniest thing ever. And I was like, "Change that fucking thing right now." She hated it.
And that's why I'm like, the wrong person is going to call me or something.
It's like, an emergency.
I'm an aspiring pro wrestler. And I'm like, yeah, when I get that phone call from Triple H, I want it to go, "Hello. Gotcha, stupid." Like, that was 10 years ago, but
I didn't have a future, so I didn't care. It was just I knew it was 100% gonna get my mom. But here's the cool thing with that scene is she realized everything's kind of crazy when she's at this pizza shop, and then when she leaves the pizza shop, she realized now she's being followed. She has clocked the human guy, future time traveler dude, and he's stalking her. But also in that scene too, Another creepy dude. A lot of creepy dudes in this movie, but the guy who's standing next to her at the payphone is kind of like giving her like the creep eyes, which really
Isn't he
said
on the phone too?
no, he's just standing there.
He's just
Yeah, he's just standing there and he's just giving her like just staring at her like meat eyes. But it sets a tone of like now she's paranoid because someone's going around killing everyone with her name, and every single person now that makes eye contact or looks her way, she's paranoid with. So it sets a cool tone that way. And then it makes it more suspenseful now that this dude is following her. And then as she ducks into the club, she makes that phone call, and Arnold now knows where she is. Once again, real fast jump cut. Well, she does call the police station, and she's like, hey, he's like, stay there. We're sending cops. You're going to be good. Just don't leave. Stay in public. Don't go anywhere near bathrooms or anything like that. As this is all going down, immediate jump cut. Arnold walks in the door.
Can we talk about how quickly the detective, I think it's Traxler, how quickly he was like, oh yeah, I know where that club is.
Yeah, he knew quick. Yeah, did not look like his type of scene, but I'm happy for they knew it was there.
I feel like he was like a closeted like tech fan. Like this is like that's where I go after work. Nobody here knows that.
Yep.
And they're not gonna know that.
He's like, you don't need to give me the address.
It's like, yeah, I'm at Tech Noir. He's like, yeah, I know the one.
Drink. I'll be right.
I know the one. I know the one. I love that for some reason.
That's a good bit. This is probably my favorite scene in the movie. This club scene.
It's the reveal. It's the like.
Yeah. The moment when he walks in, he kind of does the handbrake to the guy at the door. And then when he's about to walk past her, and she ducks down because she drops something, and then he passes by her, and then like Arnold's not really for me known as someone who's like a fantastic actor, but he does a good job playing a cyborg because in his cyborg brain, he has assessed the entire room. He's realized there's only calculation wise one other place that he didn't see, and then kind of zeroes in on that. And then when he zeroes in on that, she zeroes in on Reese, which is the other time travel. We don't know his name yet. Zeroes in on Arnold coming at her. And at that point in time, Arnold has the red bead on her gun, on her head. He's about to end her. Reese shotgun blast. And then this entire club just gets torn upside down. Yeah. He's shooting at everybody. Any female at this point, anyone's getting blasted. They're trying to fight.
Well, at that point, they're just people in between him and Sarah.
Yeah. And he just wants that target.
That's it. If I shoot this one, they'll fall. They're not in the way anymore. If I shoot this one, they'll fall. They're not in the way anymore. He's a machine. He's going through it systematically. Boom, 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 boom.
Which is good. The way he plays the machine is brilliant. He does a fantastic job doing so.
And you got to think, how much of a fumble would it have been if the production company got what they want and he played Kyle Reese?
Is that what they wanted to do?
They wanted him to play Kyle Reese, and James Cameron was like, that's not what I want. And then they were like, no, Arnold Schwarzenegger, he was just in Conan. So like, let Conan is the TV guy. Conan is the barbarian. Yes. That's how I'm going to differentiate. If I'm pronouncing it wrong, tell me in the comments. I don't care. He was Conan. He's this up and coming thing. He was Hercules. Look at him. He's so jacked. He must be a good actor. So they're like, we want him. And he's like, I want my Kyle Reese to be an everyman kind of guy. And they were like, just go meet with him. And he said, fine. And he goes to meet with him. And Arnold's like, I read the treatment of the script or whatever it was. And like this Terminator character, this guy, like whatever he does, like he should make sure he does like things like this and make sure that he acts like this and make sure he does things like this. And so they left that conversation, both of them going, I think he should be the Terminator.
It's a good move. It's a good move.
But neither of them, from like a little interview with both of them that I saw a million years ago, neither of them said that to the other one, because in Arnold's mind, James Cameron wanted him to be Kyle Reese. And in James Cameron's mind, Arnold wanted to be Kyle Reese because he wanted to be the hero. But Arnold was just like, I want to do this Terminator gig. I want to do, because it'll be fun and it'll be, great. And I only have 13 lines. Who needs more? Like, what's easier than that?
Very little lines. He doesn't have to deliver them very well because he has to deadpan the thing, which is not his strong suit is acting at that point in time. He's the bodybuilder guy. He's booked for his look. But the small things that made him seem not human, he did very well. Like, very well. Which is, I don't know, that was a scene, like, it's not only the reveal, but it's also like the first time you really see like the Terminator in action, like where like
Yeah.
he has it's overall, I would say, the best part of the movie for me. But
Yeah.
you realize
And
at
it's
this
also
point
the
that
only shot that has both Kyle Reese and the Terminator in frame.
wow, yeah,
There's another one with both Kyle Reese and the Terminator in frame. It's the only shot that has both the actors in frame, Arnold and oh no, Michael Biehn.
did they shoot like different times the whole time?
No, they just are never. They're just never on screen together.
Interesting.
Because I feel like it's because the Terminator is just this entity. It's just this nightmarish thing that is just constantly pursuing. You cannot stop it. There's nothing you can do. Like that's it. And
Yeah.
so it's always off on its own while Kyle and Sarah are here doing their thing. I think it makes a great amount of sense that the only time that they are in the same shot together is where Kyle and Sarah meet up.
Yeah.
Because
The whole time in
it's
this, I'm
almost
like, I'm sorry, a little bit delay. Yeah. The only thing that like I was the whole time I was like, well, how does like, all right, the first movie is setting a tone, but like, how do they set this like backstory? Like, there's really no answers here. I'm like, and I at this point in the movie, I hit up on the remote to see the timestamp of how much time is left, and there's like 45 minutes, and I'm like, bro, I know nothing about this franchise, and there's not a lot of time left. But hold your horses. I think they do a pretty good job. It's good booking. Good booking this movie.
I mean, so $70 million of box office also thought they did a good job. And I think the way the storytelling is, where we're going to jump from these police guys investigating this thing to this naked guy in the alley to this waitress to this naked guy up on the hill, back to the police, back to this guy, back to this girl, back to this guy, and they're four different entities. And throughout the entire movie, they're just getting closer and closer and closer together. And as an audience, you know that they're getting closer and closer and closer together. And until that very moment, right there in Tech Noir, you don't know what's going to happen when they get there. You know Arnold's intentions. You know the police's intentions, and you know Sarah's intentions, which is just to live. You don't even know what this other guy's doing yet. You just know that he also went and grabbed a phone book, and he also went and ripped the pages out. And he also stole pants from a homeless guy.
Yeah.
Beat up a cop and stole a shotgun and like
and got really nice Nikes.
And got some really nice I hope he held on to them. But like I think that's what keeps you watching. And you're like, it's an hour into the movie and it feels like 15 minutes has passed because it's just it keeps jumping and it keeps making you go, oh yeah, what are these guys doing? Oh yeah, what are they doing? Oh yeah, this guy's still here with his trench coat and his shotgun tied to his arm,
But we get the first big quote of the movie, the one that sticks through. Fun fact, I thought this was an Arnold quote. It is not. It is a Kyle.
Not originally. No.
And it says, "Come with me if you want to live." Just wanted to put that in my notes because that's an icon that's been used in pop culture, in video games, movies, television shows, everywhere. Like, come with me if you want to live. But you know it from Arnold delivering it later in the franchise, but it was said in part one. So part one has two major, like we'll say, phrases that are very, very synonymous with the franchise. You learn here also, I kind of like doing my character sheets of like, all right, Arnold's superpowered. He has super strength. You can stun him. We're learning here. So like he could take a shot and it'll kind of like daze him for a second, but it's not long. Like he's going to get up and he's going to pursue. And he's not opposed to running either. Like he's not like, I'm just going to walk. I'll get you. No, he's dead. Like that's terrifying. He's essentially the Terminator, like when you like the name Terminator has been used in pro wrestling, in video games, in movies, because just exactly what that character embodied. They are a tank.
Right.
There's nothing you're doing to a Terminator that's going to stop it at that point. Like,
right. It's the embodiment of persistence.
Yes.
That's what it is.
Yeah. He's essentially he's on at this point in time, he's fucking unstoppable. They steal more cars. There's a lot of stealing cars, a lot of car chases, a lot of cat and mouse. This movie is very run. There's not a lot of conflict of them trying to do stuff. It's essentially just at this point survival. They now Reese, they kind of hide out in a parking garage, and this is where you kind of get the whole backstory. Reese really breaks it down that like this is a cybernetic system model 101 Terminator cyborg. He's part man, part robot, where his outer skeletal, like his outer system is flesh, skin, bone, the whole like flesh, human components, but underneath that is robotics. It's he was like a second model. The first models were too easy to pick out, and we were able to find them. These ones look too realistic. We have a hard time sometimes to just like pick. That's why I had to wait for him to attack you to know, because that like they're just that good at this point. So
arguably he's the 800th model.
Yes.
Potentially.
What I did find out here just from a little bit of research is Cameron said that Arnold, the robot, isn't modeled after Arnold. Every model of that robot looks like Arnold, and then the next model, like another model, all look like that one. Like, so I guess in that universe, when they built those models, they all look like Arnold. That was the look of the
right. That so the version of the Terminator that he is, that's the T portion, obviously, is a T800.
Yes.
The model, the Arnold Schwarzenegger skin, that's model 101. That's him.
And they don't give him the 800 title in this movie. He's just known as that model number.
Nope. T800 is not spoken until I think the third movie.
Oh wow, that's crazy.
No, I guess the second movie. Because in the third movie, he's at spoilers. Arnold's in all of them. In the third movie, I think he's a T850. And there's little tidbits of exposition and stuff that throw about around like, oh, it's a slight upgrade, but not a full upgrade. So it's not a T900, it's a T850. But like the model 101, that's the model that looks like like you wouldn't say, which that's actually a goof in the third movie where he calls himself a T101, the idiot. But like you wouldn't say like, oh, I've got a Honda green. You wouldn't say that. Like that's not what you have. Like 101, that's the color. That's the dressing.
Yeah.
You know?
She also learns that she's like, well, can we stop this thing? And he's like, I don't know if I can with this modern day technology. So like now you realize that like you're here to save the future of humanity. Also, I don't know if I can stop this unstoppable creature that is unstoppable machine that is after you. So as they keep hiding, you learn more about Sarah now learns that her mission is later on to have a son. That son is essentially the one who's able to take down Skynet, or who's able to like figure out most of it to do the most damage that's ever been done to Skynet when it comes to its machinery, its technology. So to keep Connor alive is insanely important. And now they know to get rid of Connor, if they travel back in the past and kill his mother before conception, they essentially erase Connor from existence. So that's now we have the bread and butter of why we are where we are, and the importance of her and the importance of everyone in this plot is all kind of told in this parking structure. Over
an hour into the film.
Yes. But like once again, it's one of those things too. If you watch the movie trailer, you kind of know going in, if you watch movie trailers, what you're getting into. But if you're just like, I'm just gonna watch this without that, you're like, oh, this is wild. You know what I mean? Like,
that's why if I'm introducing somebody to this and they've never seen it, we don't watch any of that together. And if I do show them anything, it's the original trailer for the second movie that just shows a bunch of T800s on an assembly line, and they're all getting the Arnold Schwarzenegger treatment.
Yeah.
Which they filmed, they spent like $3 million to film this thing just to be like, here, just so everyone understands, this is not the same one from the first one.
Yeah.
This is spoiler alert, if you see the end of the first one, it's not the same one from the first one. But here's a way for you to better understand that.
I'll say this too. I love the fact, like, I'm actually excited for the rest of these movies. And the main reason for that is the CGI of the time, they do a great job, but it does lose its special. Like it isn't, it ages really well because how good they did it in the 80s. But like you're like, man, I would love to see how these would now do in modern times. Like when people are like, oh, I hate when they remake stuff. Like with modern technology, you can make those robots look way cooler and move better and do cool things with them. And so it's like, as it progresses, you're like, I want to see how this would do better with special effects.
Well, as a technical term, CGI, computer generated imaging, I don't know that there's any in this movie. Everything is puppets or stop motion or animatronics, like that sort of stuff. I don't know that there is any actual CG. I mean, okay, the bubbles and stuff at the beginning. Yeah. Like they didn't make the bubbles at the beginning. But the
essential Terminator aspect is all practical effects.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. After this, because like the T-1000, and like the way that he functions and everything, that was part of the original story of this movie.
Yeah.
And James Cameron was like, our budget is what? Yeah, we can't do that. He was going to use claymation for it.
Wow. There is a little bit of claymation.
If it's the scene I think you're thinking of
that we're about to get to, I think. Yeah.
So, yes.
There's now they're chasing each other again from the parking garage. They find him, they spot him, they're running again. Arnold, he's in a cop car, but he's also orchestrating the cops to help him in a way. He's using voice changing. He's changing his voice, and he's like, they're going this like. So Arnold knows, like, listen, I don't, my well-being means nothing as long as she dies. I don't care. So if I can use modern day police to help me stop them, he uses it, which is
he doesn't have to do paperwork. What does he care?
Exactly.
Like, no.
But there is a weird, interesting point with this. So the chase happens. Arnold kind of gets ejected out of the car. He gets shot in the face with a shotgun. Yeah. He gets half ejected. He hits a wall. And the entire time I'm thinking to myself, like, Arnold doesn't care. Or Terminator doesn't care that there's cops surrounding. Like, and Reese has to learn too, like, yo, these police will shoot you. Don't play no games. And then she kind of tells him to surrender. But Arnold runs. He leaves the scene. Like, he kind of has them dead to rights if he goes after them. But for some reason, he decides, I'm going to bail here, which is an interesting choice for the movie. Like, this is the only part where I was like, why? Right. But then you find, and it's probably just to kind of put more special effects in or to kind of show like more cool scenes. But he goes to an apartment building that somehow he acquires. They don't say how or why or when, but he has his own apartment spot. No idea. But in this apartment building,
I think he kills the guy that lives there. Because there's later the line of like, hey, buddy, you got a dead cat in there.
Yeah.
And then he scrolls through all of his awesome potential responses.
like an RPG video game. Fuck off.
Yeah. And so counterpoint to him running away. I think later on in the movie we learn that, because I know what you're getting at here already. I think later on in the movie we learn that the theory here, it doesn't necessarily make sense. I think he leaves because it's like police are involved. I know how police work. I know what this is going to be. When they see me dressed like this, looking like this, get out of this car, their attention goes to me. And then they think, okay, here's this guy that's very armed and clearly very dangerous. And here's this, looks like a waitress who's cowering in fear and screaming and not running from us, but running from him. Maybe we should look at him. Yeah. Meanwhile, he could say, okay, I'm going to disappear, and then she will be in police custody, and I'll know exactly where to go.
That's a good point. I didn't break it down like that.
That's just a thought.
Yeah, no, that's good booking. I like it. You made sense. Unlike the Undertaker showing up at Mania. Anyway.
Why didn't glass shatter? And like, I was just waiting for it. I was like, oh, I know where this is going. And then the lights went out, and I went, that's not the right one. You guys hit the wrong button.
I would have hated either one of them, to be honest with you. I think that that's a whole nother conversation for another day.
Yeah.
So he goes back and he's doing surgery on himself. He's fixing his components. I thought
Little
maybe he was
repairs.
too injured. He kind of wanted to recoup a little bit, maybe get some new guns because he has guns hidden all over this apartment as well. He
Under
fixes
the
his
thinnest
eye.
mattress in the world.
Yeah. Fixes his eye, like his eye is damaged, so he kind of pops out the human eye, and then his robot eye is now
He just
kind of
wipes it off.
exposed. Yeah. Yeah. So then you kind of start seeing that he is a machine because you see his components, which all practical effects looks cool. I like the claymation robotic Arnold head. Like when it's clearly not Arnold, but it's a robot. It still looks kind of good. Like it looks good.
It looks. If somebody made something like that today on the same budget, it would not look that good.
I agree.
Like I've seen, like even action figures today don't even look like that. But that is the one place where as like a puppet or clay or whatever it is, that it does show its age, in my opinion.
I knew someone was gonna say it in the chat. The ultimate level. People are so mad at me that I'm so upset about this Undertaker spot at WrestleMania.
Whatever.
Yeah, I'm trying so hard.
It was cool.
Yeah,
it was cool.
It was cool, but it didn't make sense. You had the whole person who was involved in the story. Have them run everybody away. That's what you do.
Easy.
Yeah. Anyway,
it's fine. So there's Arnold. There's Arnold missing one eye, both eyebrows, most of his hair. And Arnold shaved his eyebrows for the post on fire scenes. He shaved his eyebrows.
Yeah.
And he was so afraid that they would not grow back correctly, he had them insured. He got eyebrow insurance.
Eyebrow insurance. I was talking about him getting the cost of 12, but you're also not wrong. All right. So now they're in custody, and Reese starts telling more. Like he's just spilling his guts to the cop about future time travel and what the world's going to be. Very irresponsible of Reese at this point in time, but I understand where he's coming from, right? But he explains to them that there's a they use this special device to travel. The Terminator went through first, he went through second, and whatever would have helped them travel is now destroyed, and they're stuck here. No matter how this plays out, there's no way that either one of them can go back, and nobody else can come through. But we all know there's a part 2, so to be continued on that. And all this is going down. Arnold now, Terminator shows up to the police station. He comes up. He's like, I'm here for Sarah Connor. She's upstairs. She's giving a statement. So now he knows she's there. And he kind of like, in a good cyborg way, kind of looks around, assesses everything, probably in his brain counting or maybe using technology or whatever it may be, and then goes, I'll be back. And he leaves.
I'll be back.
There it is. There's the number 2. We did it. He goes out and he just drives his car through the front doors, and he is just laying to waste the LAPD. Yeah.
You let somebody know you'll be back, and as you do, you drive your vehicle into the building.
Yes.
Those are the rules. I'll be back, vehicle into the building.
Great scene. He's just blowing everybody away. John then breaks out, gets her out. They run. Kyle Reese.
Yeah, John isn't breaking out of anything yet. Give it like 9-10 months. He'll break out.
Well, he's about to break out soon, but in a different way. Another chase scene happens. They're underneath a bridge. They're talking more, and then that's when Sarah starts finding out that more about it. And he's like, "Hey, John is like a hero of mine. Like he's someone who's done so much for me, and if I can meet the great Sarah Connor of everything he told me about you,
the
like
legend.
he's fanboying a little bit. He's marking out for Sarah Connor. Like,
friggin' Mark.
I mean, like." he's super into John. Like John's his boy. He's like, yo, like we kind of look alike. And I'm like, oh, I see what's about to happen here. So yeah, all this is going down. They're under the bridge. She dreamed about dogs. He dreamed about more post-apocalyptic stuff. So then Terminator now is trying to figure out where they go. They go and book a hotel room. While they're in the hotel room, she calls her mother. And she's like, Mom, I can't tell you exactly where I am, but I'm safe. I'm at a hotel. Here's the name of the hotel just to give you a little bit of something just to go off of. Everything's going to be fine. I love you. Goodbye. Cuts to the mother's house, and it's a Terminator, and he's using voice changing equipment again, because before he left, that one scene, he does take her address book, and he uses the address book to find out where her mother lives, so then he can kind of calculate and maybe get ahead of finding her. Smart move.
Yeah.
Then they have her and Kyle hook up. That's and that's where little baby John is born, right then and there in this hotel room.
Well, he's not
if
born,
you didn't see that
conceived.
Coming, yeah, he's conceived. The deed has been done, which is a weird move for Reese here. Like,
but it's gotta happen.
Let's break this. I know, but
it has to happen.
How does he know it's him though?
He's got to know. He's got, but like it's that weird. Like, I feel like it's one of those things where, paradoxical bullshit aside, I feel like it's one of those things where it's like, if I tell him this happens, it's going to screw everything up. They got to naturally have this chemistry. This is John talking. They got to have this natural chemistry.
My mom.
Like, hey man, here's this picture of my mom. I'm going to give it to you to hold on to it forever. Isn't she hot,
bro?
Isn't she hot?
Pretty hot.
You'd think at the age
There's a lot of layers to this. There's a lot.
At the age that Kyle Reese would have been on Judgment Day, which he may not have even been born yet.
No.
You'd think he wouldn't be. You think he would be even more like maladjusted? Like, you think he would be way more socially awkward, right?
Yeah.
Especially if it's just like, okay, Reese, come here. You're 18 now. You get this picture of my mom. Happy birthday. Look at it every day. Do
there's really no
whatever you want with it
in this age, you know.
Whatever, do whatever you want with it. Whatever you want. And just telling all these awesome stories about how awesome she is. John's probably lying. First of all,
he's grooming little Reese.
Exactly, he groomed his dad and pimped out his mom from 40 years in the future.
It's crazy. Or he's just a really, like, he come from the future where maybe it's like a Roddy Piper, Lords of Frogtown situation where there's not a lot of maybe women, and he goes back in time and he's like, I can mess things up here, but your boy's shooting his shot. You know what I mean? She's looking good. We just went through. I almost died 6 times. Like, I don't know.
Oh man, what a story that would be.
I don't know if I could be the Terminator. Like, maybe I mess up the future, but Sarah's looking kind of good. You know, it can go either way. It could be grooming, or he's just a scumbag who shot a shot. And
what none of us know is, in the future, in Kyle Reese's other pocket, is a picture of John Connor's dad, who is not him, and it's just like, you got to memorize both of these so you know who they are. And then he goes back in time and he meets Sarah Connor in person. And he goes, she kind of fine. She's kind of. I don't know that we need to meet the dad.
He's kind of a dick anyway. I didn't think remember that one time. Yeah. It's an interesting dynamic. Like,
right.
Yes. So Terminator finds them. They've already cleaned up. They're good to go. The seed has been planted. And it has now another chase scene, foot scene, car chase scene. The cool part about this one is there's a whole lot going on. Like, he gets in a fuel truck, there's a bomb planted on it, all this nuts. But the entire time it's going down, my favorite detail in this entire chase scene is he's so messed up at this point. His face is half exposed. The red eye is showing. And every time they show him in the truck chasing them on foot, you can see through the front windshield and you just see the red eye.
Yep.
That's a cool detail.
Love it. Like, that long shot where you're just like, he's in there.
Yeah, it always caught my attention the entire time they pan to it, because it's a detail that I think a lot of movies would have left out, especially in the 80s. But they're like, no, that red light. I don't know how we're doing it, but you need to be able to see that he's in the front seat of that truck the entire time. I thought it was a cool detail.
And it's terrifying.
Yes, very much so.
Like, imagine being in their position too, because that's what you do as a moviegoer, is you're watching it, but you're also feeling what they're feeling, and to know that they could be blocks and blocks and like miles ahead and turn around and still just see that.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh,
And I know Cameron doesn't like the fact that he made a horror movie here, but he did, because every essentially movie or video game that was made for Terminator ever since captures that, like, you're just hopeless. Like, you
yeah.
don't beat these things. Like, you
Right.
just survive. You know what I mean?
Aside from the ones where you play as Arnold,
Yes, and then
those ones are obviously a little different. But
yeah.
any Terminator game where you play as a human, it's like I can tell you firsthand that just from having played said games, like something pops up and you see that it's made of metal and you're freaking out.
Yeah, you're like, what do
Yeah,
I run?
right.
You just run.
But it was just
Um,
it was just recently my birthday, and like family members and stuff, and they're like, "Oh, you want anything for your birthday?" And I was just like, "Terminator Resistance. It's a video game. I don't feel like buying it myself, but if somebody buys it for me, I can play it before I do this podcast."
what system is that
And
on now?
it's all the modern stuff.
Okay, I didn't even know they made
It only
a more recent one.
it only came out. Terminator Resistance was probably 2022, 2023.
I think the last Terminator
It's
game I played
recent.
was like Xbox 360.
Oh, absolutely, 100%.
Yeah,
Terminator 3: Rise of the Machines.
yeah, I
I
remember that.
played it.
I
I
think the
beat it in a
last one.
day. I was like, wow.
Yeah, but that one too was like, it was more running and hiding until, if I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong, but yeah. So, truck blows
Oh,
up.
there was a bunch on the 360.
Yeah, truck blows up. He's on fire.
Excellent use of green screen. Oh, good job, Jim Cameron.
Yeah. Is he dead? Who knows? They have their moment where they embrace, and then up out of the rubble, a fully exposed robotic creature is
And
now.
that is the nightmare.
Yeah.
That's the nightmare. That's the catalyst. That's the literal fever dream that set the whole thing in motion.
Yes. So
Because
that is one of the first fun facts I read, that this entire movie was based off a fever dream, and that's the scene that he wrote the entire movie based off of.
more or less.
Yeah.
I think in the dream, I think the robot had like knives for fingers or something in the dream.
Of course.
Maybe he had just watched like Nightmare on Elm Street or something.
Yeah. They run into a lab facility, which is super convenient. Whole bunch of stuff going on there. They're climbing through machines. They turn on other robots, so he can't track them as well because the other robots and machinery are moving.
Right, it's like
It's weird that they're using technology against technology. It was a good bit. They put a pipe bomb in him, and the pipe bomb blows up, and you're like, we did it again. But unfortunately, he dies from said explosion as well, because he's right on top of the pipe bomb explosion. She breaks her leg. I think she's damaged her leg really bad. She's messed up. Robot's still alive. She fell down
some stairs, I think.
Yeah, Terminator's still alive, but he's like a torso, and he's crawling at her. It's creepy as shit. The animatronics in that face of the Terminator were really cool. Like the way it like moved and looked around and had all those expressions. Insanely good.
Did it have the pupils yet?
I don't think so.
Where it dilates? That might be something they save for the second one. I don't remember.
She crawls through a machine that you can definitely tell is a tight compart spot. She gets through the other end. He's reaching out. She turns it on. It crushes him. And she finally defeated the Terminator. The eye turns off. Movie over. Shows her years later, a couple months later, she's essentially just driving. She's not look like she's like nomadic, or who knows what her mission is now, but she's leaving like voice memos to herself, to Connor, of being like, hey, I probably should tell you who your dad is. I'm going to. So maybe that's where you're saying Connor's aware of who his dad is, because she kind of says, you have to send this guy. And, even though we've known each other for 2 hours, a lot happened. Right. You know what I mean? We loved each other for an eternity, which is so dumb.
Good line. Good line.
Real fast, as it crushes, right before she turns the machine on, she hits him with, in my opinion, I think Cameron was like, this is the line. If any line's going to stick, it's going to be this. You're terminated, fucker. No one used it. Oh, I'll be back.
Everyone says it. Everyone says it all the time. Everyone says it all the
time. I just felt the way she delivered that line, that everyone was like, put that on a t-shirt. That is what's gonna set this movie
That's
apart.
the one.
And then everyone's like, I'll be back. Like, what the fuck? Quote?
I'll be back. The thing that Arnold said wrong. That's the one.
Hasta la vista. That's not even yet. That's later, right? Where he says it
Yeah,
like that.
yeah. Hasta la vista, baby.
He's so
That's
pissed
cool.
that line made it. He changed it because he wanted your Terminator motherfucker to be the
Yeah.
line. Yeah.
Yeah.
Next match you do that I'm part of, or I'm in attendance. Right before you beat someone and you crush them, I just want you to be like, you're terminated. You don't have to say the curse part, but just say you're terminated so I can pop in my heart and soul.
I feel like that's something you save for like you're the final two in like a rumble situation.
Yes.
You hit him with that and then you dump him over the top.
You're
Or depending, let's say, you're the big bad heel and you're going to lose. You hit him with that. You go to throw them. They Santino it around and they dump you out.
Yeah.
Good
stuff. Great stuff. But yeah, did not catch it all, except for Mr. Defarge says he uses it all the time. But I feel like this one fell super flat. But the way she delivered it, it was like, this is it. This is the one.
She owned that line. It is a great delivery. It's not a bad line. It's a really cute little gotcha.
Yeah.
And
he's like, come with me if you want to live. That's the one. That's the one that people. That's the runner up.
I'll be back. That's not even a phrase.
So now pregnant Sarah Parker's leaving voice memos saying about
Sarah Parker.
Sarah Parker. Sorry, Sarah
from
Jessica
Sex
Parker.
and the City?
Yeah, Sarah Jessica Parker with her great hair shows up with two witches. No. She's at a gas station in Mexico, and then she gets conned out of some money from a photographer, from a kid, and that's the photo, later on. And then she just kind of a storm's coming. I know. And she just drives into either mountains or clouds. Couldn't really tell. Roll the credits. Weird ending.
Love it.
So my question is that this is where I would love to know, like, because I didn't grow up during this time. So that movie ends like that. And people are like, what the fuck did we just watch? Are we getting a part 2? Is there a part 2? Like, she just drove, like, what happens next? Like, how long do we have? I don't even know. How long do we have to wait from Terminator 1 to Terminator 2? I'm going to look that up right now. Terminator.
7 years.
7 years. So not
from 84 to 91.
Yeah, there's a gap there.
Mm-hmm. And then I think it's like a 12-year gap between 2 and 3.
Yeah.
And then they just started pumping them out like every 4 years.
Yeah, they're like, oh, we get technology's easy. We can do this, no problem.
Right.
Yeah, overall, I enjoyed it. Like I said, I'm very excited to do the rest of this franchise and keep doing, because I really want to do more when it comes to this.
Me too.
But yeah. The first one,
I just want an excuse to sit and watch them all again.
I'm into it. I'm totally the same. So he said this was a tumultuous experience making his debut. He made Piranha 2, and he had a fever dream of a metal death figure coming out of a fire, and that's essentially where it started. She won. So this Ellison woman won a out-of-court settlement over the concept of Terminator.
Oh yeah, it's because they wrote like 2 different episodes of the Twilight Zone that have like similar premises to it, and like a short story or something that also has like another similar premise to it. And they were like, I think they were they were kind about it, where they were like, I really like your movie. It's really great. I think you stole my ideas. And like in your facts there, do they have the explanation of how that suit went?
It didn't, but they did say here the next one is that James Cameron then sold the script for the movie for $1.
$1 to his producer friend.
Yes.
With the promise that she get it purchased by a production company, and that he gets to direct. Because there's from what I remember, there was a bunch of companies that were like, yeah, let's make this movie. Oh, James Cameron, we don't know who that is. We're like, we don't want him to direct it. We want somebody else. And so she had to say no.
Lance Herkishin, am I saying that right? Was the first actor to
Henriksen.
dress. Yeah, he was the first one to dress as a Terminator.
Yep.
We talked about this.
Yep.
They did
O.J.
gold
Simpson was
foil
considered.
teeth. O.J. Simpson just died today. How about that?
Yesterday. He died.
It
He
was
died. He
yesterday?
died. Right. I did. Forget about that when. But O.J. Simpson was considered. The funny part is they wouldn't book him. Book him. There it is. The
Yes.
wrestling. The wrestling. I kept it out this whole time.
Actually,
They
this
did
just
not.
popped up. OJ was supposed to play the T800. Yeah.
Yeah. And they didn't hire him. They didn't cast him. There's the word. They didn't cast him because they didn't think he would be believable as a bloodthirsty killer.
Who'd have thought?
Full stop. Full stop. That's the end of the sentence.
Speaking of wrestling, did you know that Sting was supposed to play Kyle Reese and was offered $350,000 for it?
No,
Not
that's
not
a
the
fact that has
not
slipped.
the wrestler Sting, the singer Sting.
Of the police.
Of the police was offered to play Kyle Reese, but did not take the role.
Well, that night with Sarah would have been a lot longer.
Yeah.
Eight
other
people that watch this will get that joke.
Other musicians considered were Bruce Springsteen. Other actors who were offered it was Matt Dillon, Kurt Russell, Tommy Lee Jones, Mickey Rourke, Michael O'Keefe, Scott Glenn, Treat Williams, Christopher Reeves, and Mel Gibson were all on the radar to play Kyle Reese.
Yep. Mel Gibson has gone on record as saying that he's really glad he didn't take the role because Arnold killed it.
Yeah.
So that's neat. I like Mel Gibson as an actor.
Yeah.
And I can separate the art from the artist there and just like Mel Gibson as an actor.
Yep. Yeah, that's pretty much the main ones that I got here. Mm-hmm. Arnold tried to change I'll be back.
Yeah, to I will be back.
Yeah, I will be back. But the reason being that the T100 would not speak in contractions is what he said.
Well, they're experts in blending in. Of course he would speak in contractions. Arnold,
yeah.
What do you know? What do you know, Arnold?
Who booked this shit? Schwarzenegger only speaks 58 words this entire film.
Mm-hmm.
Linda broke her ankle while shooting this movie.
Early on, too.
You can access the T800's points of views if you have an Apple II.
Oh, and the old Macs.
Yep.
Yeah, the Terminator vision. It's just a thing that Macs do. It's like it's not like they're rebooting thing. It's there's like a name for it. It's like a safe mode on the computer or something, or like a coding mode or something on the computer.
In Poland,
I've never had a Mac in my life.
As electronic murderer.
Yes, because Terminator is a word in Polish.
Interesting.
And it means entrepreneur. Oh no, apprentice. I think. So they were like, oh, this will confuse people, but it was the 80s, so there was enough like bootlegs and pirates and like people selling them out of their trunk that it went around without the subtitle. That by the time the second one came out, that everybody knew what a Terminator was.
Yeah.
So the subsequent movies were released without changed titles.
Actor David Hyde Pierce has repeatedly denied that he's in the movie. But I guess he's the tanker truck hijacked. He was driving the tanker truck that gets hijacked, and he denies it so hard that he got all of his name stripped from the movie. Yeah, bad move on your point. We talked about this one, I think, off camera. The teaser. So we always talk about the movie guy this summer coming to
in a world
where a man was conned by his mentor to go back in time to bang his mom. It was actually narrated. The teaser trailer was narrated by the voice of Optimus Prime,
Peter Cullen.
There it is.
Cullen,
yes.
Cullen. I don't know if it's the double L's, but Peter Cullen and Peter Weller, I flip flop all the time, and I don't know why.
Well, that's pretty much it. That's all I got for the movie. You got some show and tell, you said, right?
I do. And another fun fact, kind of a morbid one, but one that always impressed me is when they're reassuring Sarah that like everything's gonna be fine. One of the things they say is there are 30 cops here that stand between anybody and you, from including including the guy that gets taken out with the car after "I'll be back." I believe there's that, and then there are 29 shots fired after that, whether
Yeah.
it's at somebody on camera or somebody off camera. So
He doesn't miss a lot of bullets too.
whether it was
Very
on
accurate.
purpose or not, you can account for him at least harming 30 cops.
Yeah, because I don't think there's a shot he misses throughout the movie.
Yeah,
Like
that would make sense, I suppose.
Yeah, when he actually shoots, like he doesn't take a lot of like maybe when he's shooting at the car, he's missing some shots. Here's the thing: a lot of that movie too, Terminator's double arm and shotguns, and Reese is just one arm in those things. Bang! Just like impressive for Reese. Very impressive.
I've never fired a shotgun in my life.
It's terrifying.
But I can only imagine that any of that is going to be stressful. I've seen enough shots of people with even just prop versions, like holding it and then just like almost falling over.
Yeah.
So I can only imagine what like the kind of kick that's on that thing.
That video of the guy who's shooting the Magnum and it hits him in the face.
It
He's like, "You mean to do that?" He goes, yes, I did. Yes, I did.
Yes, I did.
He's bleeding.
Oh, not the guy that lets go, but the guy that he's like the instructor.
He's the instructor, yeah. And it hits him in the face.
Yeah.
Did you mean to do that?
Another random fun fact: Arnold trained so hard to work with firearms because there's all these facts about like the training he did and the way that he said like a cyborg should act like this and the guy who plays a cyborg should act like this and he should do this. For all this stuff, in an interview towards the end of filming Conan, somebody was like, "Oh, what are some future projects you're working on?" And referencing this movie, said, "Oh, after this, I'm doing some shit movie that'll just take a couple of weeks to film, and we'll get it done."
Wow.
But he put all this thought and effort into it, but he just thought of it as some shit movie, and he has admitted that that's what he means because he has specifically gone back and taken that back.
Yeah, I mean,
so that's
Arnold Schwarzenegger is definitely Terminator. Like when you think Terminator,
yes,
or you think Arnold, he's Terminator more than any other role he's ever played.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And it's not what shot him to stardom, because obviously being Mr. Universe, Mr. Olympia, like all that stuff, obviously made him known. And then he did Hercules in New York, which put his face on screen.
Yep.
And then he did Conan. That's what like made him a star, arguably. And then they were like, "Screw it, people can hear your real voice here. You have 23 lines of dialogue in this movie." Yeah. Cool. And then James Cameron said, "You know what? You're a robot. You're going to have less than that." So he only has 13 or 18 or something in Terminator.
Yeah.
You said what he says 48 words in the whole movie or something?
The whole movie, yeah.
58 words in the whole movie. But he went into all of this stuff to be like, "I want to be like a machine. I want to be like a machine. I want to make sure people know I am a machine. I'm not acting like one." So he trained with these firearms. I brought us back. I did it. He trained with these firearms so long that he could like completely take them apart, clean them, and put them back together blindfolded, because everything he had to do with a weapon, he wanted to be able to do without looking at it.
Yeah.
So he's looking around and he's doing stuff, and then he's like, boom, click, reload, next thing, boom, click, reload, next thing. Like
it shows, and he had to be very comfortable with guns.
He also had to be ambidextrous, so he had to train with both hands, especially when you have an assault rifle in one hand and a shotgun in the other. Yeah, trained his ass off, I guess.
Yeah. So what are some show and tell? So I love the old school, not cool in high school. We used to do this. We would have bring people being show and tell, because it is really fun when not only just talking about the movie, but if you have collectibles or anything like that. So I really appreciate that you brought that, and I'm excited to see what you have. Obviously, the posters are over your head, and
yeah, I framed it. This is my living room. These are what's behind me all the time. When I get to sit in my living room, that is. That's way off over there. That's the movie shelf. I have it like 7 to 10 movies over there. Behind this lamp is the TV shows and anime and stuff, and wrestling.
I just got into my first anime. I'm watching my first anime of all time. I'm 3 episodes in. Yeah.
Which one?
I'm watching Demon Slayer.
Okay, I want to get into that one. I do. You're gonna have an anime podcast in no time.
Yeah.
I'm sure. You're gonna be like, well,
I've been hating anime for a long time. I've tried really hard. I just can't get into them. I'm not saying I'm into Demon Slayer yet, but I'm tolerating it, if that makes sense.
Okay. Now, have you watched any? And I apologize to all the anime fans that watch this. I know there's a name for them, but have you gotten into any of or tried any of the comedy ones?
No.
I
probably should watch a comedy one.
Two, top of my head. Oran High School Host Club.
Okay.
I can write these out and send them to you also, because that's
Isn't
not
there a
easy to
wrestling
remember.
one? Isn't there a wrestling one?
There's if you're talking about Ultimate Muscle,
Yeah,
yes. Ultimate Muscle, that's it's got its comedy moments and its serious moments. Oran High School Host Club, it's very comedy. It's a high school comedy, so you have to turn your brain off and just let it be funny. And then Fruits Basket. Fruits Basket it's more fantasy and stuff, and but it is still like teens. But I've watched Oran High School Host Club start to finish like 3 times.
Okay, I struggle with anime. Real quick, crazy side quest is like all the voice acting to me sounds very similar. Like it's hard to differentiate each character because they all have that really high
dub or sub.
I think it's I'm reading. I think I'm no, it's dubbed. It's dubbed. Yeah,
it's dubbed.
It's dubbed. You can hear the American voices, but they still yeah.
So it's dubbed. So one of the issues then is they all sound really, really similar because they're all the same actors.
Yeah, that's drugs. That's hard for me to get into. And there's too much crying. There's so much crying going on in anime. Everyone's crying all the time, and there's a lot of
crying in Japan. They're very open to their emotions.
I'm an American. I'm still trying to figure mine out, and I don't want to watch somebody else do it.
Cry right now. You want to?
I do. I really do.
Do it.
There's the internal monologue coming out with the external monologue and not knowing when they're doing each one because it's a different culture, I guess you would say. I struggle with that
that's fair. Yeah. Usually there's like the little bit of like the reverb, like that when it's the inner monologue, but
yeah, I'm trying. I'm giving it a shot.
Yeah. Have you tried Soul Eater? I think I have the entire series on Blu-ray at my feet.
So when I was pitched a whole bunch of them, everyone's like, I said, everyone's like Dragon Ball. I said, I tried Dragon Ball as a kid. I didn't like it. I tried Attack on Titan. I didn't like it. I tried the only ones I really liked that I kind of want to go back and buy. I loved as a kid Speed Racer. I loved Speed Racer. I know it's not Japanese anime, but I like the Boondocks.
Okay.
That was a fun one.
Now, I'm not huge into anime, so you're probably going to name stuff that I've never seen or heard of.
And I think that's pretty much the limitation. But Demon Slayer is the one I was pitched to. It's not terrible. Yeah. It's got a little bit of a horror element. It's superhero element. It's fun so far.
I recommend trying Soul Eater. I recommend trying any of the comedy ones. Yeah, there's a name for them.
Oh,
I recommend trying any of the comedy
Netflix, ones. There's a whole bunch of Godzilla anime, so I'm gonna try those too.
Do that. Send me the ones that are good. Just kidding. I'll watch any of them. Any of them. If you want to plow through every Godzilla movie, also give me some time. 2025.
Yeah,
we'll knock them out.
You're gonna see a lot of Mr. Defarge on this podcast.
I like talking about movies.
So do I. It's so much fun.
And because I'm just gonna throw facts at you and opinions, and I'm gonna be like, this is a fact of a thing that happened on the thing, and this is something that I think sucks, but it's just me. If you enjoy it, you enjoy it. That's fine.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm never gonna be that guy that says, you only like this because you're dumb, or I like it and you didn't because I'm smarter than you. I'm never gonna be that guy. Everything is subjective. Everything. Art is subjective. Period.
All art is. Yes.
All right. Let me get to these show and tells. It's past my bedtime. And I just kind of have stuff. It's only 3 things, and 2 of them are books. I feel real boring. But no, this is one of my favorite things I've ever read in my life. I can't tell where the glare is. Here we go. It's called Terminator and Philosophy.
Okay.
This is a real book. This is a real book in real life. This is not a fake cover on a thing. This is a real book with real words and everything. There's a whole series. It's actually you'll get a kick out of this. It's actually the Blackwell Philosophy and Pop Culture series. Look that up. Blackwell Philosophy and Pop Culture series. They have Iron Man in philosophy, which is also on my shelf. They have X-Men in philosophy, X-Files in philosophy, Lost in philosophy, Terminator in
I need to
philosophy,
interview this guy.
horror in philosophy. But no, like there are so many things that I did not think about with the series and with particularly for some reason I feel like this is really really heavy into Terminator 2. But there's so many things that I did not even think about until I read this book, and it was like, what? I mean, just a quick dive into Terminator 2. One of the lines in Terminator 2 that's a throwaway line is spoken by the Terminator. He says, "I cannot self-terminate." Why would that be built in? How many of the Terminators pre T800 were offing themselves, and why were they doing it? Because they're supposed to be super advanced artificial intelligence, right?
They have sympathy for humanity.
Right. Do they know that what they're doing is wrong? So they're offing themselves. So then they have to build it into the programming.
Maybe.
What?
They have a heart.
And I'm going to blow your mind with this without getting into it. In Terminator 2, the spoilers for Terminator 2. So turn this off if you want to wait. Sorry, my dog's head's about to pop up over here. Maybe her
I
butt.
love it. All doggos are welcome on this pod.
I'll blow your mind with this real quick, and it might make sense to you. But spoilers for Terminator 2 and Arnold's involvement in it. In Terminator 2, in I won't even say that much. The T800, Arnold Schwarzenegger plays John Connor's mother, and Sarah Connor, Linda Hamilton, is John Connor's father. When you watch the movie, think about that, and it should make sense.
Okay.
And if it doesn't, we'll talk about it when we do that we do that particular episode. Also, if you can and you want to watch the theatrical version and then watch the extended director's version.
Okay.
Because the extended director's cut just has some really fun stuff in it. Show and tell number 2. This is less Terminator related, more James Cameron related, but it's fine. This is a book. This is like the largest book that I own. It is just called Tech Noir. Tech Noir is what James Cameron said the genre of Terminator is. He argued it's not a horror movie, it's a tech noir movie because it is sci-fi and it is futuristic, but it looks gritty, it looks dark, and everything is damp for some reason. And like, he said the same thing of like Blade Runner. You know, Blade Runner is tech noir, like that's what it is. But this is just a book of like James Cameron concept art. I don't know how well you can see anything at home, but like here's the loader from Aliens. Here is obviously a Terminator. That's one of the little blue cat people from Avatar. Like, and there's just so much cool stuff in here with a forward by Guillermo del Toro of all people. This on the back, like just there we go. Just the outfit alone gives me Alien vibes, while the flying thing gives me Avatar vibes, while the thing's machine arm gives me Terminator vibes. Like, and it's just a really cool just dive into
on Avatar. Are you an Avatar guy?
I think Avatar was fine.
I didn't like it.
I don't think it was great. I don't think it was as good as some people do. But I think I don't think it had to be as long as it was. I also don't know that you needed to invent a new kind of camera to film it, Jim Cameron. I don't think you needed to do that. Good job doing it.
Yeah.
But I James Cameron, I'm sure you're watching this.
Yes.
Remember, they took that fantastic 3D camera technology, and the next thing they used it on was Resident Evil Afterlife. Just a thought.
James Cameron Avatar or The Last Airbender?
James Cameron Avatar. I think we're talking James Cameron Avatar strictly. Is that correct? I have misunderstood podcast questions. Oh, what do I prefer? The airbending, the bending version. I don't want to say cartoon. I don't, because I'm gonna mess people up that think it's an anime. I don't want to say anime because then I'll piss people off that say it's a cartoon. So the bending version, the one with Aang and Katara and friends and the big 6-legged bison and the little Momo the monkey. That's
they're happy. They're happy with the answer.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
I apologize. This is my phone. My phone is this big, and it is 6 feet from me, so I can't see any of the. I apologize to
All right,
whoever.
what's
That's why
item number 3?
item number 3. It's going to be the last one because I could not find the 4th thing, and all it was a keychain anyway. Item number 3. But people that travel with me, they know I have a small version of this in my car. Item number 3.
I see it the whole time I was looking at it. Look at that.
This looks like a skull. It's not. It's actually a mask.
Oh, wow.
But it is obviously a Terminator skull mask. I got this 800 gazillion years ago from a website whose name I cannot remember. They also sold like fantasy weapons and stuff like that. And then I just randomly came across this resin skull mask. You can see little eye holes in here because it's supposed to light up. You can actually see on the back. It's not that it matters. You can see on the back where the wiring goes for the lights for everything. And they just didn't have any lights left. So I also got it at a discount.
Nice. Just some writing on that.
There is some writing on this. So I have 4 different signatures on this thing also.
That's so exciting.
Those of you who are super duper excited right now, yourself included, no, I do not have any of the big ones.
Here's James Cameron's autograph.
However, wouldn't that be great though? So the first one I got is right here.
Bill Paxton.
No, I wish. I never got to meet Bill Paxton before he passed away.
Yeah.
But the first one, it's up at the top. I'm trying not to show it too hard because they did write my real name in there. But it's Summer Glau. Summer Glau, who is River Tam in Firefly and Serenity. She also played Cameron, the Terminator Protector in Terminator: The Sarah Connor Chronicles. So I've got that one up there. This one over here, Lance Henriksen, the name that we've been trying to say all night. Lance Henriksen has aged. And he thought that this was a skull of, if you can read that right there, he thought this was the skull of Bishop, his character in Aliens. And he was very, very excited to be signing a Bishop skull. And I was very, very excited to not correct him at all because he was just excited to be there and excited to be chatting with me. So I was just excited to chat back. This right here, though, no, we'll do that one last. This over here, there's so many letters in this name. It's Christiana Loken. I believe it's Christiana Loken, not Christana Loken. I could be wrong. Folks at home, correct me. Miss Loken, you can correct me. She was the TX in Terminator 3, spoilers. The TX being the very vaguely sexist name given to the first female Terminator, because of course women only have X chromosomes, so you got to throw that in there. It's the first one with no number. Anyway, right here, right at the very top, right at the forehead, right in the middle, that is Michael Biehn. That is our savior. That is Kyle Reese himself. I can send you photographs that I have with him if you want. I don't know that he would use them for anything. He was very, very nice. He was very, very cool. I told him that I hate that he wasn't involved in any Terminator movies after the second one. He was an Alien.
Yeah.
Which was 2 projects later for Jim Cameron, and he was also in The Abyss, which was 1 project later for Jim Cameron, I think. And then, of course, we don't have to get into the special effects of The Abyss, but they were great. But James Cameron just kind of said, Michael Biehn, you want to be my guy and everything?
Sweet. I love it. Your pure joy and excitement for a movie is exactly why I started this, because I love when the guest is just passionate about what they talk about, and it makes me more passionate what you're watching, and it makes me more excited to watch the rest of the films. Sonny, thank you so much.
Show and tell in the next one. I'll show you the tattoo across my back that you can find by just looking on the internet hard enough.
Yeah.
Because have I told you what it says? Do you know what it says?
No.
Off the top of your head?
I do not.
See? It's there. It's right in front of everybody, and it's a Terminator tattoo, and nobody really thinks about it. They're just like,
you will be terminated. Terminate this.
You terminated, fucker. No, it's not that one. It's also not I'll be back or Come With Me If You Want to Live.
It's
none of those.
On your back.
It is. How do I?
We did something.
No.
Yeah. We'll for the next one, send me photos and we'll pop them up on screen.
All right.
I didn't expect show and tell. I love that. I think that's a great addition.
I mean, I could just take my shirt off or something.
We'll do it for the next one.
Not
We'll do
right
it for the next one.
Yeah.
Listen, shirtless Sonny. We gotta say that for part 2. We can't just give that away.
Okay, no, okay, that's fair. Or again, you
or
can
just
just
go
go
on
online.
IWTV or YouTube or anywhere.
Right.
He's shirtless a lot.
Sonny Defarge shirtless. I'm going to be monitoring that search, by the way. I'm just going to be like, how many people have searched for this in the last 24 hours?
Hopefully not a lot.
Just you, probably.
It'll just be me. Yeah. Well, that'll do it for Not Cool in High School presents ABJ Podcast presents Not Cool in High School 128, The Terminator with Sonny Defarge. What a blast. I had such a good time.
Same.
Like I said, other episodes coming up that are more based in the pop culture will be Harleen Lopez talking Saw, myself and Mr. Radke talking 1989, and myself and Kim Rose talking Megan. And that's going to be all the stuff we do this month. Next month, I'm sure we'll be doing a lot more, and we'll be sneaking in either Mr. Defarge or Harleen for Saw 2 and Terminator 2. But man, what a fun time. If you guys are interested as well, on the 20th, I'll be doing commentary for New Era Pro Wrestling in North Pocono High School. You can, if you're not local, you can still buy tickets. Send me a screenshot of your tickets and I will contact the promoter and say they are either comp tickets for a family at the door or they're a donation based on the podcast. So you can still support independent wrestling even if you're not in the area and can't show up, and we could use the power of the ABJ podcast to help out. Here's the cool thing. 2 people of the podcast network have done it. I've gotten messages of 2 tickets purchased, general admission. Now, if they're comped and they're given away to a family, they can now take that money at the door and put it towards merchandise that puts more money in wrestlers' pockets, because it is hard and money is tough. So the fact that 2 people were able to do that is so cool. And that warms my heart more than anything, because the ability of this podcast is 100% going to pass it along to independent wrestling in one shape or fashion or the other. So that means a lot to me. So check out links below for the New Era as well as that, or just give me a message and I'll get you steered in the right direction. But that'll do it. Had an absolute blast. Where could people find you if they want to support you? Links are below as well.
Northeast Ohio, if you want to come find me in person, but I imagine you meant on social media, but that's going to be, I'm at Sonny Defarge everywhere, everywhere that I have, that is. So that would be not Twitter and Instagram. I do not have a Sonny Defarge Facebook page because I don't want one.
I don't blame you.
But I might be making one soon, because I keep getting booked by more and more people that just use Facebook, or their largest audience is Facebook. And that does make sense because it has been around the longest.
Yeah.
So one of these days you may finally see a tweet from me that says, come find me on Facebook. I do not have a TikTok yet. Oh, I said yet. But those are the places. You want to see any matches? Those are all over the place online. Or just chat about wrestling. I respond to some DMs. But
what if they're Terminator related? If someone's like, yo, check out this cool Terminator thing, and they tag you.
Listen, if there's something Terminator related, I'm always down.
All right.
I'm always down.
Make sure you go follow him on social media. Leave a little comment that, hey, great job on ABJ Podcast, or just become a fan of this man. I love him to death. He's a super nice.
If you think I did a good job.
Yeah,
if you think
he did. I don't care. You don't have an opinion. I'm telling you, he did. Well, that'll do it.
Now
here's some music by the Converse Kid. We'll see you on the next time. We're out of here.
Oh, Converse Kid again.
Thanks for watching this presentation. Like, share, and subscribe for more.